Hi there, I'm your host, Britt, and I'm so grateful you've discovered the Loving Your Own Soul podcast. Together, we will embark on a mindful exploration to living a more fluid life through a deeper connection to the soul. My intention is to provide expansion and inspiration so that you can embody the highest expression of your true potential while creating more beauty in the ever-changing world around us. I hope you've arrived here with an open mind and an eager heart to receive all that resonates while leaving behind everything else. If you're feeling ready, let's get into it. All right, you guys, tailing off of the solo I shared a couple episodes back where I went into some detail as to the ways my eating patterns shifted with pregnancy, I want to talk about the conversations happening in the wellness world where many individuals are suddenly coming out proclaiming they are no longer vegan and have actually been eating meat again. Plus, in a later episode, or maybe near the end of this one, depending how far we get, I want to also share how my own eating patterns have shifted now in present time too. So first and foremost, I just want to say that if you elected to go vegan or plant-based because you are influenced by someone online or because the lifestyle started trending in recent years, hold zero shame for yourself. Hold zero shame. While this is the world we live in, also just take this as a gentle reminder to always use your own discernment as to what is truly best for you and your body. I'm sharing this and really just want to speak openly to this because I feel it is so important for where we are and where we are headed as a society. I myself will often share snippets of what I'm consuming online because I love the beauty of certain foods and believe that food is medicine. However, I've never directly shared what lifestyle I follow, and that's because I don't label my lifestyle. I keep it open as it is ever evolving and changing, yet on the same note, because I love experimenting and cooking with fruits and vegetables, several people often assume that I too am vegan or strictly plant-based, and I just want to share that that's simply not the case. I have gone through a period of time of being solely plant-based, but I've never gone vegan, and anything I do surrounding food is always for my own health benefits and never because that's what the rest of the world is doing. Now, sure, I will catch wind of new science, discoveries, hacks, things to try, and I love nothing more than playing around in the wellness world. I mean, that's my niche, as y'all know, but you will never find me following anything simply because everyone else is. And from my perspective, I do have to say the beauty of the plant-based movement in recent years really aided people in consuming more whole foods from the earth, introducing new recipes and fun ways to cook them. And as a whole, I would say a lot of our society has experienced beautiful health benefits as a result. It's been really cool to witness and be a part of, as of course, having a direct impact on the well-being of others is why I love being a wellness and life coach myself. And I do want to make note that while it may not be sustainable for the long term for certain people, the plant-based lifestyle has so many health benefits, as does eating meat. There are different benefits for both, which is why it's great to have a blend of everything throughout various points of your life. Now, we hear it time and time again that social media is only a 5% snapshot of someone's actual life. Yet we sometimes forget that when we are lost in that dirty scroll of online comparison, you know what I'm talking about, that I just want to remind you too that every single time someone posts on social media, they are choosing what to post. So just use your own discernment always, which is why I try to always share the reminder for you to take what resonates and leave behind everything else, including the information shared on this podcast. Your life is yours to be lived, so take inspiration from the lives of others, try different things on, of course, that's the time we live in, and make your life your life. Do not try to textbook copy someone else's life because social media portrays a certain preview. And to that point, do not try to copy the way someone is feeding or supporting their health solely off of what one is choosing to share with the public. Again, choosing to share with the public. Take inspired action to try something on because your intuition said yes, and then be in tune enough to understand if it's working or not working for you. I don't know what the responses are to suddenly everyone getting back on the train of eating meat again, but I would assume that some are feeling relieved and others are likely confused. Some are likely experiencing extreme relief due to the fact that some people were likely trying to not eat meat and having to use a lot of force and willpower to continue not eating meat because their bodies were screaming at them to please eat meat again. So seeing that others are suddenly eating meat again probably feels like a huge breath of fresh air that your body isn't crazy and you can now give yourself permission to eat the meat your body has been asking for this entire time. The secret here that I will share with you is that you never need anyone's permission in the first place. You never needed it. Meanwhile, on the other side of that, I'm sure a couple others are probably pissed or confused because they've been vegan this entire time when come to find out their favorite wellness influencer or celebrity stopped eating meat 6 months ago. Yes, they too are likely relieved because they didn't enjoy being vegan possibly, but thought that that's what they had to do, and are also pissed thinking that they're vegan because that's what everyone else is doing, when come to find out everyone stopped being vegan months ago, but they're only just talking about it now. Which, from my perspective, there are several areas of concern that I see with this. You're probably already intuiting some of them yourself, but number one, when or what anyone chooses to post online is up to their own discretion. And how they choose to live their life is up to their own discretion, just like how you choose to live your life should also be up to your own discretion. Just because someone is in the spotlight doesn't mean they have to post up-to-date moment-by-moment snapshots of their lives. Things are meant to be private in many cases and don't always have to be posted online. And number two, to this point on the side of a follower, do not ever put anyone on a pedestal when we are all human. When you put someone on a pedestal, you are creating the opportunity for extreme disappointment for yourself when that person suddenly shows you that they too are only human. We are all human, ebbing and flowing and experimenting with life right alongside one another. There is no such thing as perfect or permanence. We are meant to change, shift, expand, grow, and evolve. I mean, change is always the inevitable. Just look at the seasons of nature, for example, and we as humans are one with nature always. Which brings me to number three. I was just going to say, please do not curate your life or your decisions around what someone else is doing. Yes, you can be motivated or inspired by someone and likewise aspire to be like them because something about their life is highlighting to your own intuition, something that you'd also like in yours. Totally normal and healthy, but do not be so overly influenced by someone's choices that you are attempting to mirror your life to theirs exactly. Your life is your life to be lived, just like your body is your body, and what works for your body may not work for someone else's, and vice versa. And lastly, number fourth thing I'll say on this, the trend of everyone going from vegan to now eating meat again is just that. It's a trend. It's going to swing around at some point too. So what you can do best for you right now is try different things on and see which one fits. And meanwhile, remember to always be so tuned in and connected to yourself that you can always discern what actually fits you best. This is why I hate putting certain labels on things, because labels give off the energy of permanence and nothing is permanent. Labels feel so permanent, yet I feel they also carry a trendy energy with them too. And why do we have to label the way we eat? Why can't we just eat? I mean, personally, for me, when talking about food, I really enjoy the term plant-focused way of eating for this purpose because it's simply a way of focusing on plants when you eat. Some days I eat only plant foods. Other days I might eat a mix of plant, animal, and processed foods. I found that I thrive off of consuming a mostly plant-based focused diet, and it's what works for my body the best, and I still need animal proteins here and there. My lifestyle is always changing based on what I need at the time period, so instead of always being so focused on how or what everyone else is eating, we should really be paying attention to how certain foods affect our unique bodies. And yes, if you caught me there, I did say sometimes I eat processed foods. We all do. Sure, I'm very conscious about what goes into my body, but that's not to say processed foods don't end up in my hand. Of course they do. I'm also human, living a human experience. In fact, one of my favorite sayings of all time is the only constant is change. And that's just that. The only constant is change. And here's the thing. I'm not immune to any of this either because I too am human. I've gotten caught up previously in my life of following the trends of what others are doing without paying attention to see if it was actually working for me too. We all do at some point in this modern world. That's part of the journey. And it also has the ability to bring us that much closer back to ourselves once we course correct. The more you can tap into what you don't want in life, the closer you get to discovering what it is you truly do want. Understanding what you don't want is one of the most powerful lessons, in my opinion. And if you've worked one-on-one with me or taken any of my programs before, you know that I walk you through this exact process. The process of experimenting with different ways of eating or supporting your body and generating a sense of mindful awareness and connection to be able to discern between what works and doesn't work for you, with the understanding that what works now might change in the future. And that's great. That's great when you are listening and working with your own body, mind, and spirit connected together. I mean, that's living a truly intuitive lifestyle. And this goes far beyond food too. I mean, we look at all areas of your life because it's all interconnected. And if you're new here and we haven't previously connected one-on-one, I love having these conversations. So let's definitely get to know each other. Please do not be shy. Come say hi to me on Instagram at the Britt Olson. Would love to dive into this topic more. And on the other side of that, if you've also worked with me, you do know that I encourage trying on a plant-based or plant-focused diet for a period of time when you are trying to achieve certain health goals. And sometimes that period of time might be forever because you love it and it works for your body. Sometimes that period of time might be a couple months or years until your body signals to you that he or she needs something else and the current lifestyle is no longer cutting it. Sometimes that might even be a simple 9-day reset to target a certain area of the body that needs tending to. Every scenario is different because every person is different. However, I will say, periodically, the body does need time to cleanse and filter out some of the lingering inflammation that can get stuck inside of us from all that we are exposed to on a daily basis. And when we are constantly consuming animal proteins, the body's detoxification process is directly affected. No matter how lean the protein is, there are still inflammatory properties hindering the body's optimal function. Now, there are a host of vitamins and minerals and nutrients that come with eating meat, and meat still has some lingering inflammatory properties to the body. So removing animal proteins, meat, for a period of time, infrequently of course, is really, really beneficial for you and your overall health. It just doesn't have to be a forever thing. I'll give you an example from my own experience and journey over the last few years here in a minute. But before I do so, I just want to wrap up the conversation about influential wellness people, or even celebrities for that matter, claiming they are no longer vegan and are eating meat again. Because what's fascinating about this is how many people started eating meat again at a time when the types of meat readily available to the masses have shifted greatly from what we used to have available to us a few years ago. We are also able to now find so much higher quality meats, which can actually serve and support our physical bodies in the ways we were initially designed to way, way, way back in the day before our food supply went to shit. Well, at least here in the US, if you're listening from elsewhere in the world, you may not have the same problems we have over here in the US with our food industry. I cannot speak to yours. But I actually think it's pretty amazing because the vegan and plant-based movement over the last couple years had a lot to do with so many taking a stand toward whether it was lessening the carbon footprint, the knowledge that the previous meat options available were complete trash, people being so inflamed and sick, the only way to heal was through a full body plant-only reset, the knowledge of the cruelty that was does take place towards these animals, and in return, us then consuming the energy of these animals' experiences, and of course, a few others too. I mean, I really can't speak to why all individuals went vegan, but those are just some of the big ones to note. Now, the unfortunate side of the vegan movement is all the processed fake meats that got created and consumed by so many people. And that's also really the biggest difference in vegan versus plant-based. Aside from, of course, vegan is mostly for the animals and plant-based is for your health. Plant-based keeps it clean and natural. Meanwhile, vegan offers a variety of fake, processed, man-made protein alternatives that are all just full of salt and seed oils, preservatives, and other just nasty, fake things that your body does not need. So you really have to be careful to ensure that you are only consuming real whole foods from the earth if you are choosing a vegan way of eating in order to support your health. And that's why plant-based, depending again your reasons, is kind of the more aligned label, so to say, if you're trying to put a label on the way that you eat. And I mean, you are going to do a detriment to your health if you are simply swapping your animal proteins for processed fake meat products. And this is another reason as to why some of the vegan population also suffers from certain health issues and vitamin deficiencies, is that they are eating these processed vegan alternatives instead of real whole foods from the earth, which then gives it a bad rap that doesn't necessarily have to take place. So just bottom line, if you take anything away from this today, choose your food in the most natural living states possible. When in doubt, always shop from the outer aisles of your grocery store for 80% of your supply, and then really just leaving the middle aisles for the remaining 20. You can think of the outer aisles as living foods, the middle are all dead foods. I mean, in return of this movement, it has definitely pushed our society to get creative and really change up the conventional farming as it pertains to meat, which I am just so grateful for. Like suddenly labels started shifting and a couple companies got creative and finding ways to get clean, healthy variations of meat out to more of the general public so that we weren't trapped by only eating meat based on what was sold in the grocery stores, which, by the way, is complete trash. Do not get your meat from the average grocery store, and certainly do not buy from bigger national stores. A lot of humans do need animal meat to thrive. It just depends on the quality and quantity that's being consumed. Support your local farmers. We need them now more than ever, and your local farmers actually have your back. In recent years, we did also start seeing greater availability of grass-fed beef, pasture-raised chicken and eggs, wild-caught fish, so forth, which if you are confused on what labels to look for when buying meat, it's actually quite simple. All you have to look for is grass-fed, pasture-raised, wild-caught. Those three. That's it. That's all you need to know. And if your meat isn't labeled like that, or the server at your restaurant has no idea where your meat came from, that is up to you to use your own discernment on if it's worth ingesting or not. Like I said, I think this is a really cool movement because meat isn't necessarily bad. It all comes down to how the animal is raised, fed, where it lives, how it's cared for, and then the amount you are consuming and how frequently. And like with anything, conventional farming being produced for the masses is not focused on quality. They are focused on quantity. So just remember that. Everything is a business today. They are not worried about your health. They are worried about the dollars in their pocket. So try to not be fooled by catchy marketing. If you have questions, again, reach out to me at the Britt Olson on Instagram, and I can give you some more individualized tips and tricks here. So to that point, we don't need as much meat as the media, marketing companies, or old school nutrition might tell us we need. I don't care how many people are pushing meat right now, because again, in a few years, once this has all died down, they won't be, it'll switch to something else. It always does. You do not need to consume animal proteins with every single meal. This clogs the body and burdens your liver, which again, that hinders your body's ability to properly detoxify, which your body needs to be able to properly detoxify in order to sustain you healthily for the long term. Meat is not bad, but just everything in moderation based on what works for your individual health. I myself, for example, have been on this journey for the last several years with my own health. I did go completely plant-based in order to heal. Heal and clear is kind of the way I phrase it as it turns to plant-based. I had to heal from several physical ailments, including digestive distress, chronic constipation and bloat, cystic acne, estrogen and hormonal imbalances, adrenal fatigue, migraines, brain fog, and this might surprise some of you, disordered eating habits. Going plant-based opened my world to the possibility of food, and in return started healing my disordered eating habits that brought me to a place of where I could finally feel free around food. It was glorious. There was, of course, a bit of subconscious work and reprogramming I had to do here too. Again, part of the world we live in when we've spent, 30-ish years in my case, being conditioned by society, peers, family member, the media, etc. But what really shifted the way I looked at food was going plant-based and studying nutrition and the nutrient profiles found in foods from the earth. Understanding I did not need to starve my body in order to achieve great health. I just needed to nourish her with the right foods, which wild concept, huh? And then I'd say after about 6 months of being totally plant-based, not vegan, don't forget there's a difference, I started introducing certain animal products back into my diet. I started experimenting and going slow, being conscious of where my meat was coming from, and just really what this would look like for me moving forward, because intuitively I knew my body was cleared and healed and was ready for animal proteins again. So I started slow. I started with fish and then moved to red meat and then eventually moved to chicken. I learned that by healing the health of my gut and introducing pasture-raised eggs back into my diet, I could in fact eat eggs without major repercussions. I was slowly able to reintroduce some dairy products back into my lifestyle. I do not eat pork, and I do keep chicken to a minimum. Pork and then chicken following quickly after are two of the most highly inflammatory animal products. So if you're going to limit anything, limit your pork and chicken. I do eat eggs, as I mentioned, but I keep actual chicken very minimal, and it must be pasture raised. That is a non-negotiable for me. If you want to learn more about this in an entertaining type of way, I'll say there are plenty of Netflix documentaries that you can tune into. Obviously, they were created for learning purposes, but also filmed, edited, and produced in a way that would keep your attention. So just keep that in mind. But the information shared is definitely truthful. And overall, I just experimented with what foods worked, didn't work for my body, and I stayed open to constant change and evolution in the ways that I ate. And nothing is permanent. And this is why I always say, you hear it so often on this podcast, it's a mindful exploration to living a more fluid life with a deeper connection to the soul. It's just that. I actually did share about my pregnancy food journey, which was quite entertaining to me as well. So if you haven't heard this yet, definitely head back. I think it was episode 92 for all the details. I go through the specifics of my innate pregnancy cravings, sustaining myself via red meat, omega-3s, complex and complete meals, algae proteins, sodium intake, so many things. And one of the things I haven't shared yet, but I definitely will in an upcoming episode, and that is my postpartum journey with sugar. A sweet tooth that flared up and how I leaned into this sweet tooth and then kicked it for good. I'll probably record and share this episode on sugar sooner than later because I know a lot of people suffer from sweet tooth in general. It was just a very interesting process for me that I gleaned a lot of knowledge from. It was fascinating, always experimenting. But to go ahead and wrap this up here today, I just want to say that I just really encourage you to give yourself permission to experiment with the various styles of food available to you and your unique body. Experiment, have fun, enjoy the process. It's a privilege to be able to eat food, truly. And try not to label yourself. Try not to get caught up in the fads, trends, lingering diet culture that still exists today. And just remember to nourish yourself from the inside out at all times. Most importantly, you are allowed to change your mind. In fact, I encourage you to change your mind, as I've found that's the best way to find out what you truly like and don't like. Changing your mind is not a bad thing. It means you are on a quest moving closer to the real you. You are simply exploring life and getting a taste of different experiences in order to then hone in on what it is you really want more of and what it is you can start to leave behind. I feel like as a society, We have been so quick to place these labels of permanence on others, and I've definitely done it myself in different situations, not necessarily around food or nutrition, because that's an area I'm very conscious of, but I've seen this energy of permanence rise up within me in other relational matters, and I've really had to check myself back to what is my truth in these certain experiences. So again, if you take anything from this episode, please remember that you are allowed to change your mind. It is safe to change your mind, and changing your mind is an act of self-love. I hope you enjoyed this loving your own soul conversation and are now feeling an internal sense of inspiration and expansion. I encourage you to go take action on one simple thing that will not only better yourself, but also the world around you today. I'd love for you to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at @Britt, and I cannot wait to see you embody the highest expression of your own true potential. Now, one last thing before you go. Please don't forget to check out the show notes for special discounts on some of my favorite and well-trusted products that will serve you well in all areas of your life. And if you want to continue learning and connecting together, be sure to check out my website, thebrittolson.com. Plus, if you feel called, I'd love for you to rate and review the show, whether on Apple Podcasts or by sending me a DM on Instagram to let me know your thoughts. Once again, you can reach me at @BrittOlson on Instagram, and exchange for your feedback or review, I'd love to send you my free ebook to making simple, modern smoothies that your mind and body will love. Plus, I will also include a special energy healing meditation. All you have to do is simply leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and screenshot it to send to me, and or directly message me your feedback at @BrittOlson on Insta. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for you, and I hope you have a beautiful day.